Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be kind of a different wrap-up than I usually do. This is going to be more of a vlog style. So I read books outside of the books for vlogs, and I did clips of them after I finished reading them. So you're getting kind of real-time updates on how I felt about them. Again, these are books that I haven't covered in vlogs that I put up this month, and if this format works, if you guys like it, I will continue doing it, and if it doesn't work all that well, then I will probably be going to weekly wrap-ups for the weeks that I don't have vlogs. But I wanted to give this format a try, see how it worked, and we will see how it goes. So let's get into those clips. I just finished my first book of 2022, and that was It Happened One Summer. I ended up giving this 4 stars. Piper and Brendan. And in the beginning of the book, Piper is like this LA socialite who is Instagram famous and all that kind of stuff, and she, to get revenge on an ex-boyfriend, decides to throw this party that involves breaking into a pool, and she ends up getting arrested. And as punishment, her stepfather, who kind of funds her socialite life, tells her that he's sending her back to the town that she was born in, and she's going to be living there to get some perspective on life. This town is very small, and it's all fishermen, and so her and her sister Hannah, who is like completely opposite of her, end up going to this town, and they discover this abandoned bar that their father used to own before he passed away, and they decide to renovate it. And she runs into Brendan, and he is immediately put off by her personality. He thinks that she's beautiful, but immediately doesn't like that she kind of shits on his town. She seems to sneer at it and laugh at it and think that it's just a bunch of hicks. And so they don't get off on the right foot. I did like their relationship. I think that their relationship was like all 4 stars of this book for me. Just the writing did not work for me. So I've been pretty open about something that doesn't work in romance for me as an early hookup, and they get together pretty quick into the book. I would say maybe 150 pages in, and this is a little over 350 pages. So that is a good portion of the book that is them having their own introspective problems, and I don't love that. Because like we know where this is going to end, right? We know what the conflict's going to be. We know how the conflict is going to resolve itself. I was a little bit put off by how quickly they got together. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of the banter and back and forth, but I did love their relationship, and I think Brandon was such a sweetheart. He definitely wears his heart on his sleeve. He is very open with his feelings, and he wants to spoil Piper. He knows that she is she loves shopping, and she loves girly things, and she loves materialistic things, and he wants to spoil her, and he loves everything about her and doesn't want to change that like materialistic side of her, and he wants to kind of feed into it because he just loves her so much, and that's part of his showing that he loves her. And then Piper, obviously through the course of this book, learns to love the town and the people in it, and learn that her LA lifestyle was superficial and all that kind of stuff. So this was just not the best Tessa Bailey that I've ever read. Their relationship honestly was the best part, and like, yeah, that's what you would want from a romance, but I think everything around it, some of the writing of it, the repetition of the same sentences over and over again, just little things like that kind of dampened my enjoyment. The early hookup dampened my enjoyment, so not my favorite, but they're definitely one of my favorite couples, and I absolutely adored the hero. I adored how much he wanted to spoil, and how just reverent he was, and how much he worshipped the heroine. I loved it. So the relationship was definitely like a 5 star, but the remainder of it was minus a star. So this one was 3 stars. This is about a woman who is an English professor. On the side, she murders men who commit sexual assault. And that's kind of the whole thing. When I heard reviews about this, I heard it was like the thriller that anybody can enjoy. It's great for people that are new to the genre, but it's also good for like people that aren't new. And I just really found this to be okay. Like, I like the concept a lot, and the scenes where she's like doing it were cool, but I didn't think that there were enough scenes and there wasn't like enough tension in it for me. You're getting alternating points of view between the teacher and a girl who went to the same college, and she's like new to the college, and she meets this girl who's like popular and in drama, and like they become very close friends. And you're following her storyline as well as the teacher. It didn't do anything crazy, interesting, or twisting. Now, thrillers aren't particularly my thing. I haven't found any that I'm just like enamored with. Most of the time, the ending comes around and I'm just like, okay. They're generally a genre where I read the book and then several months later I don't really remember them, so they always end up landing at a 3-star for me, and that's kind of the situation with this one. I mean, I enjoyed the listening experience. You're rooting for the woman to kill all of these guys. I just don't think it was like as tension filled or as interesting as I would have wanted. I would like more scenes, more of everything. There is a like sapphic romance in this between her and another professor that is kind of interwoven into her whole plan, but it just isn't as interesting as I think it would seem like a book like this would be. The Rebel is the second book in the Kingmaker series by Sophie Lark. I am slowly making my way through Sophie Lark's backlist through Buddy Reads with Letitia from Books and Bees. And this is the second book, like I said, and I really enjoyed it. So this is about your heroine, who you saw in the previous books, is engaged to this very not well-liked guy who is incredibly nasty. He doesn't seem to have any empathy for anybody, and his entire plan is to basically destroy Zoe. And Zoe has been accepted into Kingmaker's College, which is essentially this college for mafia kids, so their parents can send them to the school to teach them all about being in the mafia. There are different classes of kids that go here. So you have the heirs. These are the kids that are eventually going to be taking over their parents' families, the mafia family from their parents. You have the enforcers, who are like the soldiers. You have the spies, who are the intel gatherers, and then you have the accountants, who are the accountants. And in the beginning of the book, Zoe's father tells her, like, they had made a deal that her and this guy Rocco wouldn't get married until she had completed her education at Kingmakers. This was kind of an attempt on her part to distance herself from Rocco, to kind of have a little bit of freedom before this marriage contract went through. And in the beginning, she pisses Rocco off, so Rocco uses his influence with her father to get Zoe's sister, younger sister, Kat, pulled into and going to Kingmakers, which kind of crushes Kat's dream of being an artist and going to art school. And when Zoe goes back to school, she attempts to assert a little bit of independence from Rocco. She is part of Anna and Leo's friend group from the hero and the heroine from the first one, and she brings her sister into the fold, and part of their friend group is this guy named Miles, and Miles is this very savvy businessman. He's the one that like ferries all of the illegal stuff that they're not allowed to have, all the technology, the drugs, all that kind of stuff into the school for a profit. And he is a businessman like all aspects of his life. He doesn't want to be in the mafia. He wants to start some sort of company in LA akin to like a producer or a producing company, and he takes it upon himself to get Zoe out of this situation with Rocco after he sees a scene that results in Zoe being injured. And so they have a romance, and I really like this book, and I like this series as a whole. I think that all of the complaints that I had about the Brutal Birthright series, in particular Sophie Lark's ability to weave romance and plot together, is all of those issues that I have is kind of eliminated in this series. She does a fantastic job of juggling both of them. Honestly, if you are looking for something that is really plot heavy, that has a romance, I would recommend this series. It doesn't necessarily have elements that a non-romance reader would enjoy when it comes to the romance. There's definitely darker elements there, but if you're looking for like a good mafia heavy series, this is definitely one of them. The school aspect is very interesting. You have a bunch of different players at play in the school that you're kind of trying to figure out. There's a mystery, and their relationship is just incredibly sweet. Miles is very sweet to Zoe, and their relationship is very soft. And I have often complained about not liking when there's an early hookup or the couple is together early in the book, and this is definitely an exception because the plot and the school setting is so much a part of the book. The fact that they're together early doesn't hinder the book in any way. The mystery and trying to get her out of this relationship and like the forbiddenness and all of that, that is what drives the story along. And also just like the exterior conflicts going on with the plot and the people at the school and all of that. In addition to that, you are seeing the relationship in the next book. It was great. I gave it 5 stars, just like I gave the first one, and I highly recommend this series. I think it's dark, it's gruesome, it's a wild ride, and the relationships are always fantastic. The heroes are always on point. So I would definitely recommend this one. Sitting in silence, we still feel the vibe you could. So after I finished The Rebel, I immediately went into The Bully. This is Dean's book. This is someone that we saw kind of throughout the series, and throughout the series he had sort of a like bad reputation. Not really many people liked him, and he kind of started a fight with a lot of the key players that we like from the other books. He was part of a love triangle in the first one, and he's now gotten his own book, and this is definitely my favorite in the series so far. I only have one left to read, but I was highly anticipating Dean's book. I'm not going to talk too much about the heroine, just because I want you to go in kind of with a mystery, with a nice little surprise, because I didn't know who his heroine was either. Sophie Lark delivered on exactly what kind of book we needed for Dean. The redemption arc for Dean was absolutely massive in this book because of who Dean was and what he represented for the families from the first one and the kids at the current school. We really needed a book that was all about him. So this one is much more focused on him, his growth, his heroine and her growth, and their growth together as a couple. It has a lot less to do with plot. There's a lot less plot in there. It is about 100 pages shorter than the other books because that plot element isn't in there, but I think it was exactly what we needed. I loved Dean as a hero. I think that his redemption arc was fantastic without changing who he is as a core person, and I think it was just like everything that I would have wanted from his book. Watching their relationship progress was beautiful. Watching the heroine be exactly what he needed was beautiful, and the way that they interacted was just amazing. And yes, I'm excited to go on to the next book. Now say a word and I know what you just decided we'd be right. If you were really disappointed by the Clown in a Cornfield YA slasher thriller, I think you are really going to enjoy this one. I ended up giving it 3 stars. This is basically a slasher movie, but in book form. Like, it's written as if you are watching a movie. So it's written in different points of view. It's written third person. The writing style is very interesting, very different than I think anything I've ever experienced. And because of the way it was written, you really aren't expected to make a connection with the characters. You're kind of just along for the listen or the read. I think reading it physically or an ebook would be a very different experience than listening to the audiobook. So I think if you're interested in it, I would recommend listening to the audiobook, because honestly, I don't know what it would be like to read it. Definitely better than other slasher-esque books that I have read, and I really like Stephen Graham Jones' writing. I think he's good at writing whatever type of horror that he wants, you know, thriller or whatever he's trying to write, and this was no exception. If you are interested in anything that I just said, I would say pick it up. You're probably going to enjoy it. I'm definitely excited to read more from this author. I've read 2 of his other works. I read The Only Good Indians, which I really liked, and then I read The Night of the Mannequins, which I absolutely adored. That one is just wild, and this one was just another success from this author, and I would recommend it if you are interested. In the same wave, all the water's perfect. This is undoubtedly going to be the worst clip in this wrap-up because I just don't know if I'm gonna have the mental capacity to do this later in the month. And if you hear hissing in the background, it's my cats. I got a new cat, and Gotham isn't really liking it all that much, but she'll have to get over it. I managed to listen to the audiobook for Comfort Me with Apples, which is a horror book. It's very short, so I'm not going to get too into depth into what it's about, but you are introduced to your unnamed narrator who seems to lead this like Stepford life in this neighborhood that has all of these rules about what color you can paint your house. You can't have people over at night, and her husband tells her that she can't go down in the basement. And so she lives this like everyday life exactly the same, cleaning the house, not really doing anything else. She thinks she has the perfect life, and obviously we know that's not true. I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. I've found that like my preferred storytelling mode through horror specifically is novellas, short stories. And another thing that I really enjoy is have the horror elements, but everybody in the story thinks that they're like regular, like everyday occurrences, and nobody seems to find them disturbing. That's very interesting to me. I love watching that dynamic, and that's definitely what's at play here. Very interesting. I really liked it. If you are into horror and you like horror novellas, I would definitely recommend it. And then I also finished the audiobook for A Dowry of Blood, and I gave this one 4 stars, all told through letters to her husband, who we find out is Dracula, and at the beginning scene, he is changing her into a vampire, and it is all of his brides, so all of the people that he brings into the relationship, and slowly devolving into an abusive relationship. 4 stars, very interesting. I really liked the way that it was told, and I hate to say that it dragged a little bit, but there was a point where between the introduction of one bride to the next, I felt a little bit bored, but I think it did a good job of building the horror of like this abusive relationship, this like slow descent, especially with the other brides coming into this scenario. So I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars, and I think it was written very well. The time is melting from my fingertips. So I finally finished the Kingmaker series. It's only been like 6 months in the making. I was disappointed by The Spy, I'm not going to lie. I can't get too much into the plot or really the relationship because it's kind of a spoiler. But I have said this before about Sophie Lark, specifically in her Brutal Birthright series. I find that she has trouble balancing her plot with her romance sometimes. Sometimes she does it very well and it ends up being fantastic, and sometimes she struggles and the romance ends up failing. And that's kind of what I felt like here. I didn't really feel anything beyond sexual tension with our hero and our heroine, and the plot itself definitely kind of took over. I will say that I liked our hero and our heroine individually. I think that this heroine is one of my all-time favorites besides Mara from the Sinners duet that Sophie Lark has ever written. She's incredibly strong, but she's also vulnerable. I like the hero as well. So altogether, it ended up being a 4 star, not the worst Sophie Lark that I read, but definitely not my favorite in the series. I would recommend the series as a whole if you are interested in mafia romances and you are interested in like this school setting, but it's not my favorite in the series. There is going to be another book following some characters that Sophie Lark wasn't intending to write a book about, but she got many requests to do so. So the last book in the series has not come out, but if I were to rate the books as they were right now, The Bully would be my favorite. And then I really liked Leo and Anna's book as well as their relationship. Then I would say Miles and Yanela. I can't remember what her name is. I liked their relationship, and then this would be my last book and relationship that I liked. So I think I have found that with Sophie Lark, I just prefer her more cold and dominating heroes. So Miko, Cole from the Sinners duet, Dean from this one, like I just find that those are the characters that I like more. I think she writes them better. So that's kind of just what I'm finding out about myself. So that is the conclusion to the Kingmakers series for me. Nothing compares to this, nothing. I really liked this second book in this war series. I can't remember what the title of the series is. And this was the second book. Again, this is the second book in a series, so I can't really talk about the plot, but had a bigger emphasis on connecting our heroine and our heroes together. So if you don't know already, this is a Mafia Reverse Harem series by Lilith Vincent. The female main character, Sierra, I think that's how you pronounce her, on her 17th birthday, she gets told by her dad, who is the mayor of this town, that on a week after her 18th birthday, she will be married to one of these 4 guys. And so in the first one, she is kind of trying to figure out how to get away from them, but she's inexplicably drawn to them as well, and they just don't seem to really care about what she wants. And then in the second one, follows the events of the first one, and it's a lot of time spent with our couples. So it is 4 guys and her, and all of them have like their own distinct personalities. Lilith Vincent does a very good job of doing that while all kind of making it make sense that they are the way they are. They're all very manipulative and domineering, but in their own different ways with their own different personalities, if that makes sense. So I liked this one. I would say a little bit less than I liked the first one. I gave both of them 5 stars, but the first one had a lot of like angst, so much angst. If you read the first one and you thought it was like really overwhelming, that there was just too much going on, there was like, it was giving you cramps, like there was just so much. I will say this one is definitely toned down. It does get gruesome and it does get dark just because of the nature of the people that you're dealing with in the book. So that doesn't really change, but the angst level and the aggression does lessen a little bit. I think in the first one, you didn't really know the hero's intentions. You didn't really even know if they cared about the heroine. That wasn't something that bothered me. That wasn't something that I needed from this series. I like the way that the heroes were written in the first one. I like the way that the relationship develops. It's very much one of those things where it's like, they're cold and calculating and rude, and they don't really care whether she likes it or not. She kind of has to like adapt to them, if that makes sense. And I like that. I think it was done well. It fit well with the story and with the characters. And this one, if you are missing some of that affection from the first one, you will get it here. It's not like bringing teddy bears and flowers. It's not like cutesy, but there is a lot more like affection and love there for her, and more caring there for her. So if you were missing that in the first one, you'll like this one. But overall, I liked it a whole lot. I think it was a fantastic second book in a series, and I'm very excited to get to the third one. So in editing, I realized that there were a couple of things that I did not talk about, that I did not wrap up once I finished them. One of them was a romance, and the others were like graphic novels. So I will talk about the romance. This is a road trip romance between the hero and the heroine, who the heroine is the assistant of the hero's boss. He has been hired to be the cover model for the heroine's boss's books, and they are going on tour. And so the heroine's boss wants him to come along, and she has tasked her assistant, the heroine, with ensuring that he gets to each event on time, and that he also doesn't fraternize with the fans that are there. So she's basically just babysitting him, and it's a road trip and they go to like different places, and the heroine is your typical uptight, does everything by the book, plans her whole day out, and the hero is like a playboy, and they don't really get along all that well. And I ended up giving this 3 stars. I didn't really like the hero. I felt like the things that he did to the heroine, the ways that he talked to her, wasn't, like, they weren't acceptable, and he never apologized for them. He was very rude to her about her personality, and he often did things to intentionally stress her out, which, if you know that someone's job is possibly on the line, I don't know why you in good conscience could do that. So it just didn't really work for me. I didn't enjoy his character. And then I read some graphic novels. You and I making fire, I can take ya. So the first one that I read was Cody, and this was really, really sweet. I gave it 4 stars. It's basically about a girl who finds a bear in the woods, and they go on this little adventure together, including her having to move away from the town where the bear has been staying with her, and the bear basically finds her, and they live their happy little lives together. And then I also read Living with Viola, and I gave this 4 stars. This is a graphic novel about a Chinese American girl in middle school who is dealing with anxiety, and in the graphic novel, anxiety is seen as this other character called Viola, and I really, really liked this. I think that the representation for anxiety was great, and the struggles that the main character deals with, being Chinese American, was something that we always should have. Need more stories about it, so I did enjoy it. And then I read Beetle and the Hollow Bones, which I gave 4 stars. This is another cute witch story, and she is best friends with this ghost who haunts this mall that is supposed to be torn down by a girl that she was not, like, that she was enemies with when she was younger, and they team up to help free so that when the mall is torn down, the ghost is not like gotten rid of or killed or whatever. And again, it is cute. The art style is fantastic, and I really liked the story. I would be interested in continuing. I think this is, it might be the only one, but it was mega cute. Then I read Lightfall, and this is about a young girl and a creature who stumble across each other in the forest, and she is on a hunt for a missing loved one, and she is trying to, she knows where she needs to go, and he is also looking for her loved one. So they team up together and go on an adventure to find the person that she is missing. I gave it 4 stars. And then I read Witches of Brooklyn. This is another witch graphic novel. It's about a girl who is an orphan, and she ends up getting paired with these 2 witches in Brooklyn. And at first she doesn't really want to be there. She doesn't really like them, and she kind of throws fits a little bit, but she quickly realizes that they are witches, and they are tasked with helping the girl's favorite artist deal with a problem. And again, it's cute. It's about found family, and I really liked the witch aspect. And then the last graphic novel that I read was Petals. I gave this 4 stars. This is extremely short. I think it's only 50 pages, and there is no dialogue, but it is basically about a doctor and young boy's life growing up together. So originally the doctor goes to the boy's house to cure an illness, and he keeps coming back, and they have a lovely relationship up until the end of the doctor's life. Like I said, it's very short, but it was beautiful. So those are all of the things that I read in January. I hope you enjoyed this new style of video. If you didn't or did, let me know down in the comments. I would love to know your opinion. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. I might be taking a small break in February. You will be seeing some pre-recorded videos, but I probably won't be coming out with a TBR or anything like that. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Thanks so much. Sitting in silence, we still feel the vibe, and you could not say a word, and I know what you just decided. We'd be right in the same wave. All the water's perfect.